So welcome everyone to this webinar session, part of the European Sustainable Energy Week 2026. The European Sustainable Energy Week is organized by the European Climate Infrastructure and Environment Executive Agency, or CINEA for short. And our session is also, I would like to remind you that it's part of the umbrella. So the European Sustainable Energy Week is taking place in June from 9 to 11, but our webinar session is stays under this umbrella. And also this year is the 20th edition of the European Sustainable Energy Week with the topic a clean, secure, and competitive energy union. So if you are planning to attend the European Sustainable Energy Week, either in person or online, registrations are already open, so you can check the link online. But for today, our session is called From People to Policy, Inclusive Energy Transitions with Residents at the Center, and is organized in collaboration between Access, InclusiveSpace, REN+HOMES, and BuildON. So we have 4 interventions, 4 speakers that will give their perspectives based on these European projects. And without further ado, I think we can start. First of all, I also would like to thank Federica and Claudia for all the effort you put in organizing this session. Thank you, Panayota, also for managing everything. So yes, after some acknowledgements, we can start with the first speaker. Let me see if I can move my slides. Yes, so the agenda. So we start with this welcome and introduction session. And now we're going to have a brief overview of the projects. After that, we have space for questions and answers. We can also get your comments. And we finalize around 12:30. I'm your moderator. I'm Guilherme, and I represent the European Project Access. So for today, we have 4 speakers, as I mentioned before. We start with the first speaker from REN+HOMES, Anthea. I hope I'm not butchering your name.
That's good.
Okay. Anthea, after graduating in Arts and Culture Management in Milan, she moved to the Netherlands to work with the World Fair Trade Organization, a global certifier for fair trade. Upon returning to Italy, she specialized in social economy management and joined Social Seed in 2017 and then Social Fair in 2019. Her expertise includes co-design and coordination, leading and implementing support programs for social innovation, strategic consulting, and impact assessment. She has served as a consultant in the nonprofit sector, specializing in developing innovative solutions for contemporary societal challenges alongside local communities. So, Anthea, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Guilherme, and everybody who is attending today. And good morning, everyone. And as introduced, we will focus on, we're going to present REN+HOMES project, which is focused on smart and passive energy buildings. And especially there will be a focus on the participatory processes that as a social fair within the support of icons, of course, we are trying to develop and implement within all the work packages in the REN+HOMES. So please, we can go on. I will show a brief overview of REN+HOMES, which are the objectives of the project. So as I said, is focused on positive energy buildings, and the main goal of the project, who is running from since 2013, and is going to finish, let's say it was supposed to finish this year, so November 2026, but then we are now asking for an extension, so it's going to run until next year. And the main goal of the project is to to create a universal methodology for design positive energy homes and residential district. As we see in a bit, we are going to focus on 4 different demo sites across Europe. And the approach aims to support the shift towards climate neutral and energy positive residential buildings. What are the positive energy buildings? Probably you better know than me, but like the PIB are designed to use very little energy, thanks of course to the isolation, the efficient system, and to generate renewable energy, thanks to the implementation of different technology we will gonna see in the different demo sites we are running. And over a year, it produces more energy that it consumes, so it can be a gift to the neighborhood. Here is the consortium. So as we see, we are 23 organizations throughout all Europe. We come from Italy, Greece, France, Spain, Estonia, Austria, and Romania. And especially in 4 of these in these countries, we have the 4 demo sites. So in the next slide, we're gonna see here we have 2 different type of countries and 2 different type of demo sites. So we have 2 that are mainly focused on new construction. So the one in Innsbruck and the one in La Garriga, which is nearby Barcelona. In these 2 demo sites, we have new construction for young living apartment blocks in Austria, and in Spain we have private apartment blocks which are already sold. Innsbruck has not just started, but like the implementation and the construction is going on, because we have some problems with the hydrogen suppliers. So, and the other 2 demo sites are in renovation, so in Tallinn, Estonia, and Cluj-Napoca in Romania, and they are students' accommodation. So it's like the dormitories for students, for professors, for the family of the professors, and they are all, like the 4 demo sites are implementing different technologies. So we have solar panels, we have geothermal energy in Romania, we have in Austria an hydrogen storage. And so for a different climate condition, different altitude, different geographies, we try to implement different technologies. So in the next slide has shown the whole and the whole process we are implemented. So the 6 work packages that formed the project. So the first one is about the first 2 work packages, are about the technology and methodology that has been implemented and still going. The third work package is the one that I will be focusing today, because it's about the engagement and involvement of both the International Advisory Board, so a pool of experts that are helping us out and supporting in implementing the engagement process, and about the National Working Group, which are the residents that are called and involved in all the process. Then we have the work package 5, which is held by and lead by ICONS. So it's about communication, outreach, dissemination, and business modeling. And then the last one, of course, about the management. Focusing in the next slide on the work package 4, as you see, we have this methodology, which is take the place from design thinking and system design world. So we have different phases, as you see: understand, emphasize, define, design, implement, and then evolve. And within this theoretical methodology and theoretical framework, we are now implementing these 2 parallel engagement process. The blue one, so the top one, has already been implemented, and we are almost at the end, because it's about the involvement of this International Advisory Board. So we have 15 experts coming from different fields. So we have some people from the construction field, some others from the manufacturing and production, some others from the design fields, and we have professionals, we have practitioners, we have academics people, so professors mainly from all over the Europe, helping us and supporting us in implementing the engagement strategy. And with them we have this which is of course the kickoff meeting. So back in 2023, in January. And so it was just a kickoff meeting about presenting the project, and especially the 4 demo sites and the technology implemented, so they could give us some advices and some other best practice or failure practices also from all over the world and the project they have been witnessed. Then we have some design labs that were more focused on the engagement process that we are going to see in a bit. So they gave us some really interesting insights and feedback about the process we designed. And the review, the last activities is on hold because we are like it's planned to do it online review at the end of the constructions of the 4 demo site and the conclusion of construction, and when so the real strategy, involvement strategy, is going to be implemented. Then we have the lower part, which is the green, so building residents' awareness and activation. We can go also to the next slides because it's more specific. And this is so crucial, the green box that we just saw, because technology, of course, is very important and fundamental because of the efficiency and the passive houses. But it's not all. So a well-designed house is only the starting point, but the really changing point and keystone is the behavior of the people who are gonna live in that. And so we try to implement, next slide, please. And that's why, our main social fair, which is a Center for Social Innovation, we tried to co-design and coaching residents to reduce their energy consumption and also to raise the awareness about the buildings who are gonna be the house where they're gonna live. So the main objective of the engagement strategy is to actively engage residents to be part of this changement and to be part of the positive stacks in the building energy share, with the goal, of course, of improving even more the performance of energy saved production, which are linked to the technology implemented, but of course with a good behavior and a good awareness from the residents is going to be explored. The methodology we are applying is the train the trainers. So of course we are not the demo site leaders, and we are now trying to support the demo site leaders because of the language. So the demo site leader has to be really more closer to the residents because of language barriers, and also they really know their new inhabitants. So we are now supporting the demo site leaders and partners in implementing all the strategy. The strategy, who is in the next slide, please, which is structure in this way. So we have these national working groups. So we started and kicked off in Romania because it's the first. I see also Mihaela, who is the leader, the demo site leader. And so in Romania we started because it was the first demo site who has been finished the construction works, and we are almost ready to kick off also in Spain because they just finished the construction and they just sold all the apartments. So the residents are gonna be really soon living in the apartments. We have some delays in the renovations of Estonia and a new construction in Austria because of some suppliers delays. So we are gonna kick off in autumn, and so last month of this year. But so for every demo sites, these are the activities that are planned. So we have an initial survey, which has been written and structured by us, Social Fair Plus Icons, and of course the support of the International Advisory Board. So we have this first sub-administration to map the behavior of people and the degree of energy awareness of the people who are entering. And this serves as a baseline because we're gonna have at the end of the process the last point is another survey at the end of the transition path. So we're gonna spread the same survey as to see the difference between the initial phase and the final phase. Especially like in the renovation sites, in Romania especially, we try also to spread the survey not only in the people and residents who are living in the passive houses, in the passive rooms, but also in the others rooms, like to see the difference, especially at the end. We don't really see the difference now because it's the initial baseline, but we are expected to see some differences at the end. Then after the survey, we have the design labs, and I think maybe we can go, exactly. Thank you very much, because the survey is structured in this main paragraph. So we have some really generic questions about the demographics and about the houses, some general information on participants and their houses. So just to collect specific data because all the demo sites have different features. And there is a third part, which is about knowledge and awareness. So to see and to analyze and assess the residents' level of knowledge and familiarity with the energy efficient technology. And then the last part is about the energy usage habits. So this section tries to explore residents' current energy saving habits, practices, including heating, cooling, lighting, appliance usage patterns, and what are the habits of the residents. The design lab, so next slide, it's more about trying to analyze and to identify some small actions that can be monitored. So I know that it's very boring, the condominium meeting, but just to give a brief idea. So we thought as a condominium meeting, so it is a chance to know the neighbors, of course, so who are living in the same buildings, and try to understand the building. So they are gonna live in a very particular building because it's passive, it's not that common. So it's the first phase, and the first part is just to understand the building, what is the technology that is installed, how does it work, if is required something from the human behavior or not. And then also to share the first baseline and survey results. So what do the people already do? What do they don't do? And what are the common challenges that are facing? Then we have a part of idea generation, let's say, so exploring new ideas, and try to focus on what are the small actions that could help in improving the energy efficiency, and try to pick 2 or 3 very simple actions that can be monitoring and testing in the daily life. So we don't ask it for the moon, but just try really to understand what are the little action that can be game changer. And then there is a phase of self-monitoring, so simply sharing a simple tool of notings like a diary or something like that can be really easy, and a daily life action can be implemented. And then next steps, and so what are the next meeting that we're gonna hold all together. The key pillars, so as I said, we are now implementing this strategy in Romania, starting soon in Spain, and the last two demo sites we're going to start in autumn. And like the key strategic pillars that we observed so far, and we just saw also from theoretical and academic framework of the engagement of the residents, are these, like, is summarized, of course, but as is the fourth point that you see here. So the overcoming the intention action gap. So to ensure an energy awareness that can be translated in long-term habits and usage, the project uses an interactive online review loop, thanks to the International Advisory Board, of course, and the support of the demo sites leaders. To provide a constant and often feedback and prevent effort stagnations. The second one is the systemic adaptability. So to try to manage external volatility as the suppliers delays, some problems with it. Also in Austria, we have dealing with the public administrations because our social housing. So external factors can be really influencing the project. The strategy employs flexible planning and is very linked to the first point, because we really have this feedback loop very iterative. Then the third one is bridging the technical gap. So through these design labs, we try to give and pass this complex concept, like the passive hub methodology and the technology are implemented, and translate into some transparent, accountable communication. So turning residents into informed contributors to the energy more efficient. And scientific validation. Of course, the evaluation phase uses a data-driven approach to provide quantifiable and also qualitative proof that behavioral change can improve building performance. So it's not only the technology, as I said before, but it's also the human behavior that changes a lot. So I think, yes, I'm finished. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Antti. A very nice presentation, and thanks to all REN+HOMES teams. It's very nice work that you are doing. I have a question, but we don't have time, so I will come back to that later on.
Sure. Yes.
Thanks. And then we move to our next speaker. So now we move to European Project Access. Let me just change here. And our second speaker is Professor Paris. Paris is a full professor at the School of Engineering of Frederick University in Cyprus and leads the Sustainable Energy Research Group. His work focuses on sustainable energy technologies, building performance, smart readiness, and the digital transformation of the built environment. He has extensive experience in European research projects addressing energy efficiency, sustainability assessment, and user-centered innovation. In the Access project, he contributes to the development of a comprehensive accessibility assessment scheme for the built environment, addressing physical accessibility, usability, safety, comfort, and social inclusion through clear criteria, indicators, and guidelines. Today, he will introduce this assessment scheme and discuss how it can support more inclusive, accessible, and sustainable smart buildings and cities. Paris, the floor is yours. You are muted.
Thank you very much, Guilherme, and it's a pleasure to be here with you today, representing the Access project, an EU initiative under Cluster 5, coordinated by CERT in Greece, Thessaloniki. And today I will introduce some elements concerning a novel scheme that is being developed under the Access project, which concerns the assessment of buildings with regard to their ability to provide accessibility features to disabled groups of users. I understand that you will be managing the presentation, Guilherme. Great, thank you. So starting with our project, as said, it's a Cluster 5 project. The main idea behind the Access project is to enhance inclusivity and equal access to the built environment for all individuals. And you realize that this is a major and a very ambitious aspect that we aspire from the Access project. And in order to fulfill this requirement, we need to have an inclusive and comprehensive approach from different types of engineers and researchers. So the aspect of accessibility involves urban planners, architects, engineers, designers, and it also includes not just the buildings, but as well surroundings, infrastructure, and other elements of the built environment, which should be considered in order to enhance accessibility and enable inclusiveness for all categories of stakeholders and disabled people. Now, the main idea behind the Access project is that we recognize the evolution in the field of smart buildings and smart cities, and we aim to master some tools that are currently being used towards digitizing the built environment and the way we manage the conditions within buildings, as well for accessibility. That said, the main vision of the Access project is to deliver a suite of tools that enhance accessibility conditions for all people to the built environment. And of course, another main aim of the project is to expand the definition of smart buildings in order to establish the inclusiveness of aspects that are related to accessibility. And this is something which currently is not given, meaning that at least for those schemes that we have developed for smart buildings, the accessibility aspect is still not included. So we recognize this gap. We develop the know-how, the expertise, the tools, the digital environment, the ecosystems, the suite of tools that will establish the consideration of accessibility as one of the elements that identify a building or a city as smart. And what we usually say in the Access project, we recognize accessibility as one additional pillar of sustainability for the built environment. And of course, in order to secure that the outcomes of our project will be maintained after its completion, within the Access project, we have a strong involvement of certification activities and framework, aiming to deliver documents, reports, and material that will be sustained after the completion of the project and will be reachable to an expanded spectrum of engineers and designers. Next slide, please. All right, so in our project, we recognize that accessibility is not a simple term, but it's a term that needs to be adapted to the needs and requirements of different groups. We also recognize the fact that, as we stated earlier, accessibility is one pillar of sustainability and identifies as well the sustainability of the built environment. And we also recognize the big transition that we currently have in the digital management of the built environment. We also consider the different developments in the field of accessibility in the built environment. And we also recognize the need for a joint framework under which we will understand and promote the accessibility within the built environment. That said, the main vision of the Access project is given in the slide, in the comment below. Access envisions to create a barrier-free environment, facilitate smooth mobility, and revolutionize the accessibility and inclusivity of smart buildings and smart cities, enabling equal access to essential services and facilities. And this is our motto, and based on that, we deliver our work. Next slide, please. Now, in order to achieve the ambitious targets of the Access project, we have a very expanded group of partners consisting of 22 entities from 9 countries across Europe, expanding from R&D performing entities, digital tool developers, research centers, NPOs, standardization bodies, and of course, one of the major aspects of the Access project is a demonstration of the solutions that are currently developed within the project. And for this reason, we also have a significant number of end user representatives as partners of the project. As said, the project is coordinated by CERT. CERT is located in Thessaloniki, northern Greece. I am representing Frederick Research Center, a partner based in Cyprus, which is within the research centers and academia category of partners. Next slide, please. Now, you realize that as an innovation action, Access project promotes and proposes some key innovations which can be disclosed in this slide. The main idea is that we wish to develop and deliver a framework that will enhance capability of the different categories towards social inclusion and accessibility. And this framework includes several activities that build upon this central idea. Another major innovative element of our project, and this is what I will present today, is a scheme that is currently developed and finalized within the project, a scheme that aims to assess the accessibility of buildings. This is something that currently doesn't exist, and it aims to set the grounds in order to enable the relevant industry as well as the practices that we follow in the built environment towards quantifying the accessibility aspects of buildings. And of course, as said, the Access project is a project that relies strongly on digital tools. That is, we aim to bring the digital innovation into the service of accessibility for the built environment. Now, next slide, please. I would like to start introducing the accessibility assessment scheme. This is a rationale that we have for different aspects of the built environment. We have it for energy, we have it for sustainability. Recently, we have an assessment scheme for smartness, that is a smart readiness indicator. And as Access project, we recognize the significance of establishing a scheme for assessing in a joint and common way the way we evaluate the accessibility of buildings. This is accessibility assessment scheme, which is based on objective criteria which deliver a scoring of a building as well as a certification in order to be able to classify the different buildings with regard to the provisions that they have for accessibility. And if we have the opportunity to classify buildings, we can then set the minimum requirements and push the market, the practices, the engineers, the designers, the stakeholders towards specific directions, and of course, deliver policies out of this development. Next slide, please. So the main idea is that we recognize specific dimensions which we consider in order to assess the provisions of a building. And these dimensions are named in this slide. So we start with mobility, with usability, with physical accessibility, and we also go to social inclusion, comfort, and safety. These are the main dimensions, assessment dimensions that we have identified and based on which the scheme was built. Next slide, please. The idea behind the rationale of the building of the assessment scheme is that these works has awaited some calculation for the performance of the building, and of course, in order to deliver that, different evaluation criteria receive a scoring that is highly precise in terms of the equipment, the infrastructure, and the systems that need to be installed in a building in order to be assigned with a specific score. This slide demonstrates the cascade of the methodology, which starts by identifying the disability type, defining the assessment dimensions of each individual type, introducing the evaluation criteria, weighting the scores based on the specificities of the building, and delivering an overall building score, which is a score that identifies the accessibility of the building. At this point, it's very important to mention that we have tried to align our score with the new European Bauhaus self-assessment scheme in order to have a scheme that could be introduced in the near future in the NEP framework. Now, in this slide, we show a worked example. We have an office building, for instance. We choose for the assessment layers, the disability types, the dimensions, and the evaluation criteria. Of course, an integral component of our methodology is an on-site audit and a walkthrough audit where all the information is collected. And of course, with the use of the digital tools that are included in the Access Suite, the scoring and the required justification for the building are delivered. Next slide, please. So we envision a pathway from engineering, from research to the society. And this goes from the audit score to the action, whereas the outcomes of the audit provide the priorities and the actions that building owners and managers should deliver in order to enhance the accessibility of the building. And we see here some indicative examples and some priority actions which would improve the scoring of the building to a significant extent. Next slide, please. And of course, this delivers a roadmap for the enhancement of the building, which results to a more inclusive building and, of course, to renovation and to investment decisions in order to achieve the accessibility targets. And next slide, please. And of course, from this, we result to policy. So this is a chain that starts from engineers, from an assessment scheme, from priorities, from financing, from renovation, and resulting to policy initiatives, policy priorities, and of course, the setting of benchmarks and baselines that will deliver in the near future the pan-European vision for establishing minimum requirements for enhancing the accessibility in buildings, for establishing the condition that the accessibility is the additional pillar of sustainability, and for introducing accessibility as an integral component of smart buildings. So this was all that I had to present for the Access project. The key messages are that we cannot move forward for an energy efficient, smart environment by not considering accessibility and inclusiveness, and that progressively the research community, the building engineers, the sustainability world should establish the idea that when discussing about inclusiveness, efficiency, smartness, sustainability, accessibility is one of the main components that should be considered. I would like to thank you for your attention, and I'm at your disposal for questions at the end of the presentation of the other colleagues as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paris. Very clear presentation. I am very biased to say, but for me, it's an excellent work. It's a game changer. We definitely need to consider accessibility not as an add-on, but as something that we really have to enforce. And this assessment scheme brings everything into action. So also I have many questions and comments, but I'll save for the end of the presentation. So thank you very much. Now we move to our third speaker from InclusiveSpaces, Floridea. Floridea Di Chiomo is the director of Cambiamo, Changing Mobility, a research action NGO and UNFCCC observer organization based in Madrid, dedicated to advancing climate justice and inclusive and sustainable mobility. Her work focuses on integrating gender perspectives into mobility data, promoting just transitions, and facilitating participatory approaches to climate action. She contributes to research programs such as Just Safe, CLIMAS, Gender and Diversity Equality for Urban Public Transport, and INDIMO, addressing inclusion in transport and digital mobility. Within the UNFCCC's Women and Gender constituency, she co-leads the Global Stocktake and Action for Climate Empowerment working groups, advocating for gender-responsive and just climate policies. Floridea, the floor is yours. Sorry, I forgot to change the slide.
Thank you very much, Guillermo. And yeah, this is what it's the most recent work, but originally Cambiamo started with the inclusiveness in transport and with a kind of modeling in travel behavior as well. So, and now we are coordinating the Inclusive Space project. If we go to the next slide, just to in a nutshell, what we can say about the Inclusive Space project, it's the previous colleagues, they were presenting the inside of the building, then the network, like the energy and the accessibility to the energy related to the building, but we are focused on the outside of the building. So on the public space and on the network that is an essential network for the daily life of people, that is the transport and mobilities. And related to that, inclusive space is an innovative action. So what we need to do is to bring the innovations that arrived already in a nutshell in the project, and to try to speed up their technology for being available on the market as soon as possible, because we believe that these planning tools, these technologies, the assistive technology, they can be really important and can solve some key problems that persons living in vulnerable situations can have. So this is what we try to do, and our methodological approach is very linked with the participatory approach. In more and more in the work that we are doing in mobility, but transport and climate change, we advocate for the tenet of justice that are different, and we started with the three: the procedural, recognition, distribution, and now we are at 5 with reparation and intergenerational and cosmopolitan. So in a key point is that the procedural justice exists only when we create a safe deliberative environment where the persons in vulnerable situations, or the persons that are more affected by some elements, for example, the climate change, but as well by the fact that for their daily life, the built environment is not constructed with in respecting their needs. So if we would like really an operationalization of this procedural justice, we need to listen them. And then it's not only a consultation. This is a very important point. Like I said, it's a deliberative space. This means that we take their inputs and we have them on board from the zero moment until the end of the project, because we co-created, then we test, we demonstrate, and we hope that we can scale it up. And this is done with the community of practices. I don't know how many of you are familiar with this approach, but it's quite a long time ago that was created, and we use it and we put in the transport already in Indimo, and then in all the projects we are involved, there are community of practices. And this is a space that is created for during the first 6 months, connecting stakeholders, people in vulnerable situation, experts, and so on, all policy makers, because we need to have the different point of view. And of course, if our objective is to bring people in the policy arena and constructed this a deliberative safe space, we need to have all of them there. If you go to the next slide, I apologize. These are the 10 innovations that we have on board. That we have 5 planning urban planning tools and 5 assistive technologies. Among the urban planning tools, there are applications that are related to some of the situation of discomfort. For example, a person with autism, person with a lower vision, children, women with disabilities, or racialized women. We are really working on the second accessibility 2.0 that is not only related on the physical accessibility, affordability, and so on, but as well on the intangible aspects. So how we create the public space, an enjoyable space for especially for people in vulnerable situations, that for all these activities. We started doing our research on the daily essential activities like working, going to the shop, to the center, school, etc. But now we should have a very much more larger vision, and not just to have this paternalistic approach and to decide as what are the more important activities, all the activities, as well to go to meet a friend, as well to go to take a walk, or to take to go to the beach and to enjoy the sea. And for example, Icy Track is exactly this. So this is as well another novelty of this innovation action, that we take care of the leisure time of the persons in vulnerable situations. If we go to the next slide, actually, like you have seen, we have different demonstrations in 6 European, formerly European, but as well associated countries. So we have as well inside Switzerland, Geneva with the transport operators. And we have from UK one of the key innovation for making cycling accessible. And this is some key point. I mean, in our world of mobility, we are doing a lot of research. We are pushing the technology, but we need to take care of the basics. So the basics are walking. So built environment is done. The second basic is cycling as well. So inclusive cycling for people as well that have some neurological issues or other or any other disabilities or difficulties, or equilibrium difficulties. And this is important because we think that somebody cannot walk cannot cycling. It's not true always. People that cannot walk, sometimes they can cycling. So it's it could be really a way to integrate person and to destigmatization of the persons in respect to this mode that is felt like the sportive mode, the nice mode, and so on. So, but so this is triple threat assisted innovation technology, and this is really already there. So what we need, most probably, we can go already on the market because we invest, from the community of practices, what we had was the inputs for redoing, reshape this assistive technology and all the innovation that we have for going to make this innovation available to people in vulnerable situation. At the end of project, we don't want to have I don't know, 27 deliverables. This is just okay to be paid, we can say. But what we want is really that what we have done is adopted in cities, I don't know, in Valladolid or in Maastricht or in Budapest or whenever. And this is really the successful of how we measure the success of the project. And of course, we had done we started with the qualitative approach with the 187 deep and dive interview with the person in a vulnerable situation with different target groups depending on the places. If we go to the next slide, please. And then we went to the COP methodology, and the COP methodology is really the idea is to put together people who are passionate for something or they are in need of something. And we can say that depending a little bit on the place, but we see that there was both components. People are passionate for what they are called for, and by the same time they are in need of this. And we discover a lot of a linkage between person and policy makers, or we discovered that there was a huge gap. So for example, in Madrid, one of the person with the neurological mobility disability was shared in a COP and saying that I wrote a lot of letters to the municipality of Madrid and a lot of time, or as well to the hospital. That is another aspect related with the daily life. Most of time, the person with disability, some kind of disability, are not autonomous to take a radio in an hospital. So these are things that I have a big incidence on the person. But so it was saying, and then I received responses. But then I met somebody on the street, and I was talking. He was a civil servant of the municipality of Madrid, and everything was done. So what we wish is that all the civil servants of all the authorities can be like the sensors in the streets, and then to act. So this is, I think, that an important aspect, a linkage between people and policies. And of course, we take care in the community of practices the objectives that they should be safe space. So the facilitation is key. We cannot launch ourselves in facilitating if we have not experience in doing that, especially because it's a human being space where conflicts can happen as well. And we need to have the instrument to manage this kind of situation. So and then what was done there, and this was the most difficult part, to translate the results in the community of practices in the we can say in the tools co-creation. So this was very complex. It was quite intuitive for us that were in the project, but then we realized that it was very complex to show up to the external people what are exactly the elements that are coming from these meetings and why they are so powerful for the translated in the sensor definition, or in the where we put the sensors for outdoor crossing streets light innovation, or where we put the icy track on the lake, in which lake, or in which beach. So all that, and then as well technical aspect. How big should be the steer of the tracks for people, for example, for women that are for people who are not so tall, we need to adapt as well. So everything was bringing for doing the innovation. If we go to the next slide, just because I saw that the time is going. This is a little bit in nutshell what we had in the COP in the action. And we did this COP in the 6 demo sites in Athens, Geneva, Madrid, Larnaca, Hamburg, and Budapest. All the innovations have been tested, have been co-created within this COP. And then we had one transnational COP, we can say, where we shared this common vision. Of course, we had more focus in each of them. For example, in Spain, that was very related to the universal design tool for built environment, and in an app that help allow the person with cognitive disability to be the assistant of the architect that are checking the accessibility of the building. And this is a strong point I would like to highlight, because it's a job creation at the end, but as well that it's clear that the person with the cognitive, we explored that the person with cognitive disability, they are much more direct in, they don't have the filter. If a corridor is scary, they don't go in. So this is really important. This is a key advantage for all population, not only for people in vulnerable situation. And if we go, okay, I leave then I guess that the slides will be shared, but for example, in Budapest, we had the triple thread and the empathy tool, and the triple thread that is these trikes. It has already done a huge demo. They are already been demonstrated with a person with different kind of disabilities, genders, and so on. And we had the opportunity to bring this vehicle as well in the Transport Research Arena just like a couple of weeks ago, 10 days ago, and to show up and to show as well to the Ministry of Transport that another mobility is possible, and a more inclusive mobility is possible, and in all kind of geographical places, and for example, for rural mobility, because we think that the rural mobility we need to provide cars. It's not true. We can provide as well bikes and appropriate infrastructure, because most of the time the distance are not so big among the different municipalities. So, but what we don't have, the lack that we have is that we don't have sidewalk there, we don't have bike lanes, and we don't. And most of the time, the public transport is less performant than in the urban system. So, saying that, we go. So what we they did was to co-design this. We used this outcome from the co-design in the community of practices that are very related to the lived experience, to have the tools and technologies. So and this was completely related to the key needs identified across the 6 demonstrators. about the built environment, about the digital tools, about the participation, emotional, sensory, and policy and education. And all that is going in the work package 2 and 3 that are the stack of the story. I mean, where the innovation is done. And of course, then the other work package 5, is the more related on upgraded the impacts and to define the standards and how we can define a standardization framework that is real inclusive, because it's quite complex now to go through the standardization, but this is another debate for next year, maybe webinar. And this is work package 5. Work package 6 it's the work package for dissemination, but especially for exploitation. So there, but we would like to scaling up our innovation. Next slide. Okay, this one. This is a little bit the lesson learned that we have. So we need to involve people in vulnerable situation from point 0 to the end, to be co-author of our academic publication, if we have, and to recognize that they are the real experts. We are just a facilitator of knowledge as researchers. And then we need, of course, the cultural context matters. So we need to construct our innovation in a context-wise way. And the technology needs to be able to going for the covering these new needs. So inclusion is not a technical standard, and this is what we would like to prone as well with the parliamentarian, European parliamentarian. We have in mind to have these events in December. We hope to have the possibility, and it is a social imperative that requires sustained dialogue and reflection and co-creation. So that's all, and I hope that I was not so long. And this is a little bit this, if you can, yes, this is, I think that's very nice images of the different products, the different way how the community of practices dealt with the future scenario backcasting innovation, because we asked a person to imagine their future, and this is a very nice exercise. And then to check the challenge and the action that are needed for doing that. And really a lot of things happen in this third community of practices sessions. Next slide, you have more information here about the project. We have as well, of course, without the communication dissemination manager, we cannot do anything. So I think that, yeah, this is a little bit, and thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Floridea. It's very nice to hear how passionate you are for this topic. I'm sure everyone also enjoyed your talk. So thanks for the nice work. And yeah, Inclusive Space is a very nice project. Lydia, thank you for your contributions as well. So we don't have much time, so I will move to the next speaker. So we have BuildON with Apostolis. Dr. Apostolos Arsenopoulos is a senior researcher at the Decision and Management Systems Laboratory of the School of Electrical and Computer Engineering at the National Technical University of Athens. He holds a diploma in Electrical and Computer Engineering, Masters in Energy Production and Management, and PhD in Energy Management and Energy Poverty. He has extensive experience in power systems and energy system modeling, including the application of advanced mathematical programming tools for integrated energy planning, climate change mitigation assessment, and building level smartness evaluation. His research interests focus on energy system modeling, operational research, and portfolio analysis. Has participated in more than 15 European projects and national research projects, and his work has resulted in publications in peer-reviewed international journals, conference proceedings, and book chapters. Apostolis, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and thank you everyone for joining this great webinar. So I'm Apostolis Arsenopoulos from the National Technical University of Athens, and I'm here today to present the BuildON SRI toolkit, but not from its technical perspective. I'll focus more on how it can support policy thinking and implementation around smart ready buildings. To begin with, BuildON project focuses on the transition towards decarbonization and digitalization of buildings. And to do so, it has developed and continue refining replicable and intelligent building services for the transition to a more inclusive, it's the term that we have been all referring to an inclusive system of technological tools. So in this context, the BuildON SRI toolkit, next slide, please. Great. Includes two main components, let's say two discrete tools, the SRI calculator tool and the SMERF assessment tool. As I said before, I will not focus primarily on the technical specifications of these two tools. You can find relevant publications from our team, and everything is detailed there. Instead, I will discuss today how these tools can help more policymakers, public authorities, and other stakeholders involved in this field to better understand smart readiness, identify improvement priorities, and support a more, let's say, informed renovation and market decision dialogue. So to start, let me briefly explain what the toolkit is and why it matters from a policy perspective. The BuildON SRI toolkit consists of two complementary tools. The first is the SRI calculator tool, which supports the assessment of a building's smart readiness level in a structured and a more accessible way. So most of the relevant projects in this field have developed such tools, so it's not the great innovation here. But the second one, we are all working on making the SRI and the smartness concept more accessible and inclusive. The second one, however, the SMERF assessment tool, it's the one that we have developed in order to help users explore improvement scenarios using specific SRI targets, identifying potential intervention pathways, keeping also in mind the user's perspective. And of course, we provide associated costs and impacts for all of these intervention pathways. So we try to keep the users at the core and provide relevant decision-making information. From a policy point of view, the value of the toolkit is that it can help. It helps connect three things, let's say, that are often disconnected in real life, in practice. First, the evaluation of the existing building stock. The second one is the identification of upgrade solutions, of realistic upgrade solutions, and not just theoretical ones. And the third one is the support of strategic planning and policy design. So in other words, the toolkit can be useful because it helps transform a formal indicator, a theoretical indicator, a whole framework, let's say, into a practical decision support instrument. And to make this practical, and if you could move to the next slide, please. Yeah, this one. To make this practical, I have structured the presentation across 5 core questions that are very relevant from our experience in the project and into this policy-making dialogue. So the first challenge is what information is needed to measure building smartness. This first challenge is fundamental. What information is actually needed to measure a building smartness in a way that is structured, consistent, and usable. This is the main question, the first question that we have been receiving all of the throughout this period, this implementation period. For many public authorities and market actors, the smart readiness indicator may seem conceptually, if I can put it this way, interesting, but it's operationally difficult. Data requirements may appear in several cases unclear, and implementation faces some burdens due to these difficulties in the data availability and understanding the requirements overall. So this is where the SRI calculator tool becomes policy relevant in a way. It helps structure the information needed for assessment in a more standardized and accessible way. This is important because one of the major barriers to a wider uptake of smart building policies, the smartness concept overall, is not the absence of the ambition. Everything is there, the tools are there, the measures are there, the concepts, the terms, everything, but there is the difficulty of implementation. So if the assessment process is too complicated, and for now it's kind of complicated, we are all trying to make things simpler. If this process remains too fragmented or highly dependent on specialized expertise, then it becomes difficult to scale. And this is the experience so far. This is what we have identified so far. So in policy terms, the tool contributes to simplification, comparability, and consistency. We have been asking from the users to fill out quite simple information, common information for a building without requiring any technical expertise. So it's pretty simple. It can help public authorities, users, owners, implementers, if I can put it this way, create a more manageable entry point for SRI-related assessments and potentially, hopefully, for wider stock-level evidence generation. Of course, collecting this information is only the first step. It's the common step, the most common step, as I mentioned before. It's based on the well-established SRI methodology. We have just tried to digitalize it, we and several other projects. The next main issue is the interpretation. So we move on to the second challenge. The next slide, please. So a second challenge is that indicators are only useful if their meaning is clear. Okay, so a raw score, a smartness score by itself is rarely enough for policy use. Decision makers need to understand what lies behind this result, what areas are strong, what are the weaknesses, what kinds of services or systems are driving this performance. And this is where the toolkit comes in by helping make the SRI results more interpretable, breaking down everything across different impact areas and building services. This is important for policy because it allows stakeholders to move from abstract scoring, theoretical scoring, to actionable insight. For example, if a building or a building category performs poorly in terms of flexibility, which is a key criterion within the overall SRI framework, occupant information or energy efficiency related services, for example, this can help shape this, creates insights, useful insights, and can help shape targeted support actions, maybe trigger advisory measures or investment priorities, the very final stage. So the policy value here is not just the assessment, but interpretability. We need to interpret everything and make everything understandable for all relevant stakeholders. So it supports, the toolkit supports transparency and help create a shared language between on the one hand, the technical assessors, the building owners, the policymakers, and everyone involved in this field. Once the current situation is understood and everything is interpreted, so the next policy question is how to improve it. And we move on to the next slide. It's the third challenge that we identified. How can renovation be aligned with the target SRI level? This is where the discussion becomes especially relevant for policy design. It is one thing to assess whether a building, where a building stands today, the current situation, and it's quite another to ask, for example, how can we move the building stock toward the higher level of smart readiness in both strategic and cost-effective way. This is where the second tool of our toolkit becomes relevant. The SMERF assessment tool supports this aspect, this perspective, by allowing users to explore pathways towards a target SRI level. And in policy terms, this is valuable because it helps move beyond static assessment towards, if I can put it, transition planning. It allows stakeholders to consider what kind of intervention mix is needed to achieve a desired level of smartness, keeping always the users and their needs and priorities at the core, rather than treating smart ready features as isolated features and add-ons. This is relevant for renovation policy because public programs need to support integrated outcomes rather than single measures. If policymakers want to encourage smarter, more responsive and more user-oriented buildings, they need tools that help connect these targets with practical upgrade pathways. And this is what we have tried to do through this SMERF assessment tool. And in this sense, the toolkit can support the design of more inclusive, accessible, coherent, you can call them whatever you want, renovation strategies, and smarter incentive to mobilize smart and incentive structures. But even if a desired target is clear, resources are always limited, and this leads us to the next challenge, which smart measures should be prioritized under budget constraints. One of the central concerns in policy making, of course, is prioritization. You all know, and we know it through the projects and the real life, that public budgets are limited, private investment and their capacity is uneven, and stakeholders need to understand the interventions that provide the greatest value under real constraints. And here is where the toolkit offers an important contribution. It can generate and compare upgrade scenarios according to criteria such as total smartness improvement, total cost, cost effectiveness, specific SRI constraints, SRI target, and things like that. And from a policy point of view, this helps, of course, support more evidence-based choices. It allows decision makers to ask questions. And we are able to answer questions such as which interventions provide the strongest smartness improvement per euro invested, which types of measures are most suitable for different building categories. For example, where should incentives or any support mechanisms be directed? And questions like that, they can all be answered through this approach of ours. Of course, okay, we have the resources, we're trying to address everything, but what are the options that actually exist in the real market? So we have the next challenge. How can policy connect recommended actions with actual market options? The toolkit helps address this gap by linking recommended interventions to actual market-ready solution types. So we have created a database with real-life market solutions, equipment, and everything related to smartness upgrades. We have conducted different mappings to the functionality levels, to the smartness levels, and everything. And by this, we are giving decision makers a more grounded view of what the implementation can look like in real life and practice, and we can enrich in this way the discussion and the heated debate around the cost, the expected SRI gain, cost effectiveness, carbon-related implications. So we have also integrated these environmental specifications. And from a policy perspective, of course, this is important because good policy depends on realism. If we provide evidence-based data to the policymakers, then everything is facilitated. Overall, why does all this matter for policy and governance? Why the toolkit matters? Next slide, please. Okay. So for building owners, we have discrete target groups, let's say, different benefits for the target groups. For building owners and users, the toolkit, this integrated approach supported by the digital toolkit, improves understanding and support better informed upgrade decisions. For policymakers and public authorities, it offers a way to make the SRI more operational by supporting assessment, scenario development, explore different pathways, make comparative analysis, tailor everything to their needs and priorities. For the market, it can create quite stronger links between policy objectives and actual technology uptake. So in that sense, the toolkit matters because it can support a more mature policy ecosystem and more mature policy dialogue around the smart ready buildings. And of course, it can help policymakers identify gaps in the existing stock, test potential intervention pathways, benchmark scenarios, communicate priorities more clearly, and most importantly, everything is evidence-based. And again, we keep the users at the core. However, if we want a wider uptake, all relevant stakeholders and public authorities need to think carefully about policy priorities and trade-offs. Some of the key trade-offs that we identified, and I'm reaching to the end, so one more minute. For example, we have identified trade-offs. What do we mean by trade-offs? For example, should the initial efforts focus more on tertiary buildings or residential buildings? Because tertiary buildings may offer easier entry points in some contexts, but residential buildings may offer stronger social relevance and broader public value. Similarly, should policies focus first on single-family houses or multifamily buildings? The answer may differ depending on the local stock profile, ownership structures, innovation barriers, and everything related to this question. So we need no need to dive further in this one. We need to identify the trade-offs and see where we need to focus more and what we need to emphasize. And using the toolkit in this way to cover all these aspects, revealed some broader lessons, let's say, and we have some lessons learned and a few recommendations. So the lessons learned we identified is that, for example, usability matters. Incentives should be at the core. Building owners and actors will not necessarily adopt a smart ready solution simply because they are technically beneficial. Institutional capacity should be emphasized as well. The assessment tools can generate policy value if there are actors able to use the results effectively. And of course, we have several practical barriers, such as limited data availability, uneven training, insufficient interoperability, and concerns related to data governance, privacy, and cybersecurity. And to conclude the recommendations, first, SRI-related approaches should be based on the experience and everything that has been drawn from the real-life implementation. Should be linked more closely with renovation programs and funding schemes. Public authorities should support capacity building, including, the most importantly, assessor training and adoption of user-friendly digital tools. Interoperability should be strengthened, especially with EPC-related processes and broader building performance frameworks. Implementation should remain flexible enough to reflect national and local contexts. And finally, the strongest policy value comes when SRI and smartness is used not just as a compliance or evaluation exercise, but as a strategic planning instrument that helps shape the renovation priorities. This would be all from my side. I hope I didn't become tiring, and I remain, of course, at your disposal for any questions alongside the other partners that presented. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Apostolos. I think it's very interesting to see this approach from BuildON, especially because we're seeing now more and more SRI being implemented and discussed in the EPD, for instance. So very nice presentation. Thanks. We are a bit late, which is normal, especially with the technical issues we had in the beginning. But now I would like to open the Q&A session. So if any of you have any questions, you can write in the Q&A chat. Let's see. Yes, Q&A. So no questions right now. I guess people are typing, but I have a question, more like a curiosity for Antea, related to citizen engagement and behavior, because we see that we cannot only just change the infrastructure to promote, to make it more sustainable or energy efficient, because we have to bring the behavior, the citizen behavior on board as well. And one example that I always see is how everything is changing oven-wise from gas to induction. And many people have complaints. So my question is, did you see any of these complaints during service, or did anyone mention some struggles with the transition?
Yeah, thank you very much. I would say, sincerely, we haven't seen yet, because we just started spreading the survey in Romania. But in my perspective, the most difficult part, agreeing with what you said, is really to give the evidence of the importance of the involvement and the co-design practices in this kind of project. As the other panelists really stole my words, because especially Floridea, just say no, the co-design costs should be really implemented at building to investment budget. And also I think it should they should be a priority, and also in the while co-designing the technology that's going to be implemented, in the efficiency as a main goal, also the involvement and the co-design, because sometimes it's really difficult to let other people understand how this phase is crucial with implementing of these kind of processes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice. I don't see any questions in the chat yet. So I would like to give their perspective on. Let me change the slide here. So for the first statement, I think Paris already answered. Citizen engagement and smart tech were recurring themes across all presentations today. Can a building really be considered smart if it's not accessible and inclusive? I know, Paris, do you want to comment on that?
Yes, we can state that the way the smartness definition has evolved for the built environment in the past few years was mainly driven by the industry initiatives in the field of automation and control systems. This is partly true. However, we need to recognize the fact that there are other services beyond the 9 services that are described in the SRI that also have smart features. And this is a rationale that we try to cultivate. This is a development that we try to initiate, and this is a change that we try to drive in the sense that in the Access project, we recognize, we support, we base, and we promote the fact that the accessibility concerns and the accessibility aspects should constitute an integral component of smartness for building, for built environment, and for smart cities. And they should be assessed and promoted in similar ways and practices that are done for the other building technical systems, such as, for example, for heating, cooling, or any other technical service that is currently being assessed as smart. Of course, we need to recognize the fact that this is not restricted only to the field of accessibility. It could also be further expanded to other fields and other services of the built environment. But at least because this is a very wide spectrum of services that we can analyze and include in this approach. In the Access project, we focus on the accessibility. And the reason we want to quantify the way we assess accessibility is exactly to create the grounds and the conditions so that we set the limits, the baselines, the benchmarks, what is smart and what is less smart when it comes to accessibility. So to conclude, yes, accessibility is a pillar of smartness. Accessibility is a pillar of sustainability, and the Access project has a specific strategy to justify this.
Thank you. Very nice answer. I'm fully on board. Moving to the second statement, actually, I want to skip to the third statement to finalize the session. I guess some people are hungry. They haven't had lunch yet. So the $1 million question, I know it's a bit tricky and sometimes it's more distant than we would like to. But one challenge within European projects is moving from pilots to large-scale implementation. What do you believe is currently the biggest barrier for replication? And I give this question to all of the panelists. I think all of you have insightful contributions to state. Maybe we can start with Florida.
Okay, thank you very much, Guillermo. Just I would like to add a small aspect to the previous question. We are advocating and working as well for this concept of a frugal innovation. And I think that it's important to consider this as well as because if we have a justice, if we will just to respect the justice in all their dimensions, as well in respect to the materials that needs to be mobilized for doing our innovation, it's better to come back to the basics. So if we would like to have a cosmopolitan justice and respect of the raw materials extraction and so on, we need to go in this way. And maybe for people in one situation could be as well a good thing. But coming back to the how to scale it up, I think that it's a process that cannot be separated by the policy and the context where we are. And of course, there are there are different factors. First of all, there is the business models. And maybe in this business model, we need to start to think not only in terms of revenue, private revenue, but as well in terms of social revenues. And there is where we need to bring the public finance or European finance for going in this way. I mean, if the society, 1/3 of the society is a vulnerable situation, it is with disabilities, visible and invisible disabilities. So it's, and then half of the population are women, and then I don't know, other percentage of population are children. I mean, we are talking about all of us. So for doing that, we deserve that part of the finance, public finance, needs to be engaged there. And then there is another aspect as well that we found a little bit in Europe. Of course, universities are sometimes more oriented to academic papers, but they are doing huge innovation. And we need to try to find the way to bring with the business and with the policy makers these innovations, and maybe as well to push the academia to be more entrepreneur, because always we have this debate between Europe and the United States. Okay, they have huge innovation, but there are a lot of innovation in Europe. The problem is that maybe the context is a little bit different. So let's copy what is the good. I think that the regulation is important to respect the regulation in our countries. It's not, otherwise we don't respect the accessibility standard. We need to move forward and respect that. Even when we're scaling up, we should not renounce to this. But let's see how to bring the different resources, intellectual and physical and financial, for doing the things and scaling up. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you for your comments. Fully on point. I fully agree. It's a process, but in Portuguese we have a saying: "Feito is melhor que perfeito," which is done is better than perfect. So yes, we have to start acting. Apostolis, maybe you want to comment on that as well?
Yeah, of course, I would like to comment on this one. I would like to begin by totally agreeing with Florida and the need to create social impact. Because we have been talking about smart ready upgrades, smartness, do this, that, and everything in step-by-step way, and everything is ready and there and successful. But are the upgrades, for example, understandable to users, accessible to different population groups, compatible with design principles, stuff like that? Because when we fund innovations, either they reflect energy efficiency upgrades or smartness upgrades or whatever, we should not, at least from our point of view, only kind of reward the technical improvement, but we should also support user-oriented outcomes such as comfort, accessibility, usability, and everything related to the user. But in my view, it is, in my opinion, that the biggest barrier is the gap between the pilot success and the implementation ecosystems, because we have been all dealing with projects. We have pilots there. We manage to make them successful. Everything run smoothly in the projects. We report KPIs. Everything is well, but it stays at everything stays at project level. So I would frame the main barrier as the governance, let's say, in the implementation barrier. Pilots are well supported because we have the projects, they are carefully designed, they are project driven, technical partners are there and everything. But when we need to replicate and scale things, we need to involve real markets, public administrations, and market actors in general, and things that are more fragmented. So if we want replication, we need to move from demonstration logic within the projects to a more system integration, and involve market actors, expand the scope of the projects and the purely scientific, let's say, rationale to include the market needs and priorities from the project level. And this means embedding project results into funding schemes, for example, regulatory practices, municipal planning, market standards. So if this doesn't work, then we cannot have replication as we promise it, as we show it, and as it is expected in order for all of the project results and the project approaches, the tools, methodologies to mean something to the others and to the whole society.
Yeah, fully agree. I don't know if Paris or Antia wants to contribute to this statement as well. Yeah, I think everything was already well said. I think everyone is fully on board of what has to happen next. One last question, I guess, because I don't see anything and time is running. So, in your opinion, how should policy frameworks evolve to support inclusive energy transitions? Tough question.
We don't see the question on the screen. Can we?
So, sorry?
We don't see the question. We still have the segment number 3.
Sorry. Yeah. So it's just the last part. How should policy frameworks evolve to support truly inclusive energy transitions?
I can go just very quickly. I think really to getting there is a lot of different force driving in this process, and not all of them are going in the same direction. So from an inclusive perspective, I really think that we need, as European researchers, as well research action devoted, we need to find a way to argument that Europe needs to go for a saving energy scenario, because saving energy scenario is a way to keep our population all on the same boat. I mean, we cannot be at mercy of the geopolitical events that that have direct effects on the average and poor European families, and especially when we are talking about people in vulnerable situations. This is even worse because they most probably they have more needs of energy, and we need to have this perspective that the energy should be for the essential daily life activities. And saying that, I think that the model, we need to go back to the basics. So once again, we need to appreciate and award the innovation that is less energy consuming. Actually, the first renewable energy is the energy that is not consumed. So this is a key point. And then in mobility, we have this pyramid that is coming from the less mechanized modes of transport to more mechanized mode of transport. Of course, we are not against the most mechanized mode of transport, like the autonomous vehicles, if it is really needed. But we need to just in energy is the same. So we are not against all the sensor aspects that should be deployed if they are really needed and useful. But let's see from the basics. So let's see what can be used and without too much consumption of energy. So what we can and thinking about that maybe still we are not there, but maybe at some point of our life we need to decide if to use a kilowatt for doing right, or a kilowatt for cooking, or maybe there are families that are already in this trade-off. And once again, in Europe, we are not managing the AI. We are not managing the, we are not owner of this, that we are not owner of raw materials. We have regulation. We have a very nice built environment system. We have as well a social housing system that can be different from one country to another, but we have this. So we need to keep and appreciate to keep this key assets that we have, and to potential go ahead with this key aspect. And of course, to start to continue to do the research in the more mechanized, but maybe as well to not put all the money there. We need to have a rational behind the distribution for less energy expensive innovation. And this is as well a way to take care of the sacrificed land in the global south and so on. So this aspect needs to come in our imaginary. They are not out of us.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Floridea. Any last minute remarks?
Yeah, if I could also comment on that regarding inclusiveness and energy efficiency. I think we should recognize that we have a gap in this field, and that we still haven't combined, linked, connected accessibility with energy efficiency. And this is a message as well for the research community, that some initiatives might need to be taken in the future in order to have a direct relation between accessibility and energy efficiency. Now, is this possible? I would say yes, because we already did that for other fields. For example, we were able to connect smartness with energy efficiency. Energy efficiency constitutes one of the three pillars and for the impact of smartness enhancement in the built environment. So in a similar manner, quantified techniques and methods should be developed that would link the accessibility with the energy efficiency. And what is the reason that this is needed? Because energy efficiency is related with resources efficiency, and thus with a cost optimal approach. If we can connect the cost optimality with the accessibility, then we will create a framework where the developments will be driven, and where the communities, the societies will also have a monetary financial criterion to enhance and promote accessibility. This is a bigger discussion, but in any case, if we manage to do that, then we will also create the conditions for industrial players and industrial actors to promote changes, to support the establishment of methods, of techniques, of assessments for accessibility, and in general, to drive the change towards establishing inclusiveness as a major parameter of the built environment.
Thank you, Paris. Antia?
Yeah, no, sorry. I just wanted, everything I think has been already said. I just wanted to add a few words that I think the prioritize is to also align like the priority of the hardware as well of the software, I would say. So not only like focus on the really the first part, but really like in the same line, putting all together in a parallel path. And that's it. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, this brings us to the end of this webinar session. I could stay here talking about this for hours and hours, but I think you have meetings and I'm also hungry, so let's finish here. Thank you all for participating. Thank you, Federica. Thank you, Claudia. Thank you, Lydia, Panayota, our speakers, our attendees. Thank you, everyone, for being part of these discussions. It's a very important topic. It's very nice to see how all of our projects go in the same direction from a broader overview, but still going in the same direction and bringing developments on these topics of energy efficiency and inclusivity, accessibility, tool development, everything to make a better world. I know it's a cliche, but at the end of the day, this is what all of us want. So that's it. Thank you very much. And until the next webinar session. Bye.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Also.
Thank you, Guillermo.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.